I'm just hoping that YouTube doesn't come up in the background. Hold, please. Does it say we're live streaming?
Yes. Wait. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Proverbial Masterminds. I'm your host, Dr. Sherry, with my beautiful co-host, Erin Harrigan.
We are getting it together, people. What is happening? Okay. Hey, everybody. Happy second Friday of April. Like, wow. Here we are in Q2.
It's almost tax day.
I know.
It's almost time to pay the piper.
You see, I have my SBDC. So I'm a business consultant for the Small Business Development Center, in addition to being a faith and business coach. And I just was sending an email to all my clients to say, hey, April 15th is coming. Do not forget.
Yeah. I'm a serial extensionist. Yeah.
So anyway, here we are. Episode 19 has no title because we just didn't come up with a title today.
Yeah, well, we'll come up with one after the fact.
It'll happen. So we are in chapter 6 of Proverbs. As you all know, if you've been following along, we are reading the book of Proverbs because we are just two daughters of the king minding the master's wisdom, and we want more wisdom, don't we?
Yes.
And it can be a really dangerous thing when we think that we're wise on our own and we start to listen to the people around us, which might tie in a little bit to what we've been reading. So we're in chapter 6.
Yeah.
So Sherry, do you want to read
from
your version where we are this week?
Yeah, I'm actually reading. I have two versions in front of me, but I'm going to read from the New Living Translation. So we're going to read chapter 6, verses 12 through 19.
Yes.
Okay. What are worthless and wicked people like? They are constant liars, signaling their deceit with a wink of the eye, a nudge of the foot, or the wiggle of fingers. Their perverted hearts plot evil, and they constantly stir up trouble, but they will be destroyed suddenly, broken in an instant, beyond all hope of healing. There are 6 things the Lord hates. Nope, 7 things he detests. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that kill the innocent, a heart that plots evil, feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who sows discord in a family. I can't hear you. You're muted. Your mic is muted.
Well, I'm muted because I don't know what they're doing outside of my office, but it's very loud. I think they're like vacuuming.
Oh.
So first, I want to say, I always find it so fascinating in scripture when it goes to tell us that they're like something that God doesn't like. And it's almost like the writer goes, there are 6 things. No, wait a minute. Actually, there's 7. Right. In another place in scripture, and I can't remember where it is, when it talks about how God is like that we should have multiple, honestly, it does say like multiple businesses or multiple streams of income. It says that you should have 7, no 8. So it's sort of like, wait, did you forget one?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that for me, the title of this episode is going to, in my mind, and then you tell me what your title is. We'll just compare titles. Is Be Careful, Little Eyes, What You See, because this is everything. Like just looking at those 7 things.
Yeah.
The eyes, the tongue, the hands, the feet, the heart. Like this is all of us taking all of our senses and putting them into action.
Yeah.
Be careful what we do with them. Be careful where we direct them. That's what this is saying, because I mean, that's right. That's the front end of it. Because if we're not diligent to be careful about where we're putting our eyes. I just did an episode. I have not published it yet because I've got to edit it. But I just did an episode for my personal podcast, Thriving Thoughts, on I'm starting a little series on redeeming the time.
Girl. Because the days are evil.
Yeah. And the heart is deceivingly wicked. And if we are not careful, we can very quickly find ourselves wasting time, binging on things that are empty at first and harmful at the end.
Yes.
So anyway, it's about, for me, so as I was reading this section, because that's what God's showing me, that I'm in 2021, as I'm surrendering, that's my word, as I'm doing that. Oh my goodness, he's just showing me myself, and it's nothing I didn't know, but it's like a new profound appreciation and hearing things as a command instead of just, yeah, I know that, but I'm not really going to do anything with that. Yeah, I'm just going to put that on the shelf, right? But
Yeah.
redeeming the time and not wasting it. So I look at that in the light of those last 1, 2, 3, 4 verses. Be careful where we're spending our time with our eyes, with what we're listening to, with what we're reading, with what we're watching, with what we're speaking, with our hearts. Like, are we taking care of our heart? Are we being diligent to take care of our hearts? With our feet? Like, where are we literally, like, where are we walking to?
Yes. Yes.
This is good. Anyway, that's what I got. What you got?
No, I love that. And what it was making me also think of was kind of the three monkeys, like see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
I love
It's
those
also
emojis,
like
by the way.
walk. What'd you say?
I love those emojis, by the way.
I know.
I use them all the time.
Like walk no evil, and
Yes.
like feel no evil, and
devise, right? Devise no evil. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that it's all of that in being careful who we're surrounding ourselves with, who we're attaching ourselves to, who we are putting on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of Christian both pastors and Bible study writers and speakers saying lately, like, don't come to me for your understanding of the word. Don't come to me for your understanding of the Lord.
Yeah.
Do not put me on a pedestal.
Right.
For what it looks like to be a Christian. Mm-hmm. It's God, it's Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit. Like I'm just a messenger. I'm just a conduit. I'm just a funnel through which things flow. Right. And even as conscious as we can be at taking his word and not taking out of context or not twisting it or shaping it the way we want, we still unconsciously have a human spin on it. Mm-hmm. So again, I think this all comes back to the wisdom that Solomon is giving. Yes, to his sons, but I think it's applicable, obviously, to all people. Mm-hmm. It is being wise in all of those pieces, with all of those senses, and all of the ways that we can be living and walking and doing life. Yes,
yeah, doing it's the actions and just being diligent. To check in with ourselves. I think it's kind of like going back to before when we talked about, pondering the path, make it even, make it level, make it straight, clear out the distractions. I mean, this, what I love about this is it's very practical. I think so the first section of that 12 through 15 talks about, like, how do we know if somebody's worthless or wicked? Like, how do we know that? Like, so it's putting our attention on other people. But I think the last 4 verses, they're talking about the things that God hates, directs us back to ourselves. Like, are those things there about ourselves? So the first half of that, I think, is about how to identify that in others. But the second half is how to identify that in ourselves.
Yes. And isn't that the hardest part?
The second one.
Well, just identifying it in ourselves, because we're so easy to be able to see it in others and to judge that.
Yes. So easy. And in fact, I love how, I don't know why my podcast keeps coming up in this conversation, and it's not to be like, oh, it's great. This is all, talking about the same thing. My last podcast, I talked about how it's easy to look at other people. It's easy to pay attention to what other people are doing because it's hard work to thrive.
Yes.
That means you have to look at yourself in the mirror. That means you have to be like David when he's like, search me and know me. That means light has to shine on your dark spaces. Like, not fun.
Yeah, no.
And
And
necessary.
you have to be willing
Yeah.
for that light to shine on those dark spaces. You have to have an awareness, which, by the way, I just want to apologize to everyone that's watching this, because it's like flipping between Sherry and me, because I'm streaming from my phone Zoom, and therefore it's not showing us side by side, and I can't figure out how to fix it.
Oh.
It's having the awareness that having that light shown on our dark places is actually good for us.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Shine a light, Lord, shine a light.
Right.
And here's the great thing. It's not, in my mind, I used to be like, shine a light. And then it's like, it's there. And like, now then he's going to know. He already knows it's there.
He already knows.
He already knows. He just wants you to acknowledge it.
And I feel like that's so another hard part about it is that because he already knows, there literally is nothing we can hide. Right. So what you're saying earlier, like, I think you were saying, like, be careful, little eyes, what you see, etc. It's, there's no sneaking around. There's no, I think of my kids when, they're joking around and they see something and they're like, oh, my eyes, like, I can't unsee that. Right. Right. There's no sneaking around. It's not like we're like, oh, I saw that. Okay. But I only saw it for, like, it's like not a 5-second rule. Like, there is no, like, oh, I heard that, or, oh, I was following that person, but it was only for 5 seconds. It's okay. No, the Lord has already seen it.
Yeah. Right. And have you ever said, I can't unsee that?
I can't unsee that.
Like, there are things that I have seen that I wish I had not chosen to see.
Right. Or things that we've heard.
Or things that I've heard, or places I've walked to. I mean, to me, this is all about diligence. Now, I want to back up to the first part, if we can, for a sec.
Yeah.
Like, what are worthless and wicked people like? How do we know them? Well, they're constant liars. And here's how they signal their deceit. I like how it says they're liars, but it's not a mystery that they're liars. They show it.
Yeah.
And here's how they show it. So I want to know what your take is on this, like, because I don't have one yet. We're just having a conversation about what that looks like in real life, like in practical 2021 life. So here's how they signal their deceit with the wink of an eye. Like, I don't know, like, is that like a literal wink?
Hey.
Right. A nudge of the foot or the wiggle of fingers. I don't even know what that means. Like,
so it's interesting. I was reading in my commentary, and it was saying something to the effect that, I think 2 weeks ago we were talking about adultery, and it was saying that in some contexts, like feet, and I think you mentioned this, could be like, are construed as sexual organs.
Feet are?
Yeah, somewhere. That's what it was saying in my commentary. And
okay.
So I feel like for me, what that aside, I don't know. I felt like I needed to say that because, like, that's what the commentary was saying. But that aside, how they show up in
it's
that
flattering.
nudge.
Isn't that what nudging and doing this and winking? It's flattery, right?
Yeah, I think I think it definitely is a form of flattery. But I also think, and I don't know that there's a word for it, but it's sort of like the not trickery, but oh gosh, I can't think of the word right now. But like, to me, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Wink, it's almost like where a kid would be like talking about someone and they're like, right. Or like nudging your foot, like, hey, did you see that? You know what I mean?
Like calling your attention to stuff. Yeah. To get you, to invite you on that side. Here's that's good. I like that. This is something interesting, talking about feet as sexual organs. So if you've never, children, if you're listening, like, parents, just pause the video and watch the rest later. And you can talk to your kids about this because it's in the Bible.
Right.
But the story of Jezebel,
Whoa. Yeah.
okay, do you know what her demise was? Do you know what happened to her?
I don't remember her demise. I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. I have to I want to go back and read it because this is like legit in the Bible. So
I'm looking this up.
anyway, look it up. So basically and it's very graphic. This is like a rated R movie in the Old Testament. So Jezebel was she flattered. That's what she did. She attempted to flatter, right?
Oh yeah, I'm reading it.
And yeah, and to draw people to her side. Well, who was the guy that was coming to he was coming to confront her. And so the Bible basically says that she made herself all up. She made herself all pretty. Now, we don't know, was she preparing to flatter him, offer flattery to get on his good side, to save her life? Or was she dressing up so that she would, commit suicide or die in a way that was beautiful? I don't know, but we don't know that. But here's what happened. Basically the guy came and he's like, the two of her helpers were with her upstairs in this room. So I don't know if she was on the second floor or the third floor,
Right.
or whatever, doesn't say. And they threw her out the window.
Yeah.
Her body smashed into the side of the building, okay, splattering blood all over the ground. So they leave her there. She dies, and dogs came.
Yeah.
And ate her body. Wild dogs came and ate, not my
Right.
hounds, not your dog.
Yeah.
Wild dogs came and ate her body, but guess what they left behind?
I'm looking at, tell me.
Her hands and her feet.
And her feet. What?
Yes. So how crazy is that? So when I was asking my dad about this, and I'm like, there's got to be, that has to mean something, right?
Yeah.
It has to mean something. And what he said is maybe it's, I don't know where this verse is, but how the works of our hands and our feet, they stay here forever. Like even more so to being diligent about what we do and don't do.
Right.
What is that? Hang on, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. And I just want to tell people, if you want to read about this, it's in 2 Kings 9, verses 30 through 37.
It's really awful.
I mean, it is. Yeah. So this is what it says. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Jehu, so it's Jehu. So she's awaiting his arrival. And all of this happens. Mm-hmm. And then it says that with her body mangled and lifeless, he goes inside for dinner.
Yes.
And almost as an afterthought, like, listen, I'm going to go in and eat. Oh, by the way, go ahead and bury her. Right. But right. While he's inside eating, the dogs are feasting as well. And this says dogs are a powerful symbol of Canaanite religion, especially associated with the goddesses Anet and Astarte and the god Baal. So there's deep irony here. She who was devoted to these deities is devoured,
consumed by them. Yes,
and that's only her palms and feet and skull remain.
Yes, her skull too. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, and so this is just tying in so good. So in Lou Giglio's book, Goliath Must Fall, he talks about, all of us have our Goliath and that we invite it into our lives and we're not diligent about it. And it's at first, it's like, a sweet, cuddly, cute baby tiger that turns into an adult tiger that mauls you to death.
Yes. Yeah. Tiger King.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Me neither. And I don't want to.
So listen, well, I started to watch the first episode, but then I thought it was a clear exploitation of people with people with below average intellectual capabilities.
Oh, yeah.
So I just stopped watching because I thought it was exploitative. But anyway, I'm sorry, what were we saying?
So we're talking about Jezebel.
Yeah, but after that, just now. before, oh, the baby tiger into the tiger that
Oh,
consumes
yes,
you.
yes.
So that thing that we invite into our lives, if we're not careful, be careful little feet where we go, be careful little hands what we touch, be careful little eyes what we see, be careful little tongue what we speak. I mean, I that to me is such a heavy charge.
Yeah.
Because we can get comfy in complacency.
Yes.
And to me, what this is saying is complacency will lead to these things if we aren't diligent. Because then after this section, immediately in the same chapter, he starts talking about remember this again, remember wisdom, keep it around your neck, saying these things that he said before.
Yeah.
Right. But saying this, remember, this is all of these things will happen basically unless you are diligent. So,
and being diligent in the wisdom, because how quickly we can get to a place where we feel like we have wisdom, right? And then bringing this back around to the wisdom of being in the word consistently, because and I can't, and I know I've read Proverbs in big sections, right? And so what I love about the way that we're doing this is now we're seeing, and we'll see where it goes to the rest of the whatever it is 25 chapters. Does he keep coming back and saying wear wisdom as a necklace? Like, does he keep bringing that back?
yeah.
Which I'm sure he does. I'm just not remembering in the bigger sections that I've read to keep driving home the point that we need to be in the Lord's word, and we need to be always seeking his wisdom, even when we think we've got it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think too, the other thing that I'd like to highlight here that I just thought about was in these things that the Lord detests, all of it is using who we are in a perverted way. Okay. Because we were made in the image of God. And when we aren't diligent to reflect God, to be like God, we are perverting the very creation. We're perverting our ability to live by design, like we talked about last week.
Right. Yes, yes, and yes. And how easily that can happen because of the world's noise and the world's magnetism, if I can use that word, that can so easily get us.
It's flattery. It's that wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, that can so easily get us off track. It's interesting. I was talking with someone yesterday, and she had been courted, if you will, for a job opportunity. And the job opportunity was with someone that she already provides services for. She's in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came, the people she's doing this marketing for approached her to take a full-time position. Well, then when they started to talk about what it would cost them to hire her and for her to give up, put her own business on hold and come to work for them as an employee, they didn't want to pay her that rate. So rather than have a conversation, and again, please hear me, I only know one side of this, but it goes to sort of this nudge, nudge, wink, wink thing. Like, rather than have that conversation about money, what they began to do was turn and say they weren't really sure that she could deliver. They weren't really sure she had the level of experience. They weren't really sure that she was giving the ROI.
After she had been courted because she was valuable. She had been
courted. Right. So going back to what you're saying with like this flattery and this wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it's like, yeah, I want you to come work for me. But when you're standing in that wisdom and here she's having this conversation with the wisdom of, I know what my clients are currently paying me and here's what it's going to cost you, how quickly that table turns. And so how quickly we attach ourselves to others that we think have the wisdom or leading the way, how quickly we are to put other people up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And then when the table turns, how quickly, again, we're on shifting sand. instead of being anchored in the Lord and his wisdom.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, the other thing that this highlights is that our actions impact others. Right? Because
yes.
I mean, we can't love God and love people if we're not walking in God's wisdom, if we're not doing and operating in God's wisdom, because what we do, and this is not the world's message. The world's message is just do whatever you want as long as you're happy.
Yes.
No,
yes.
But see, here's the thing. Whenever you do whatever you want and not what God wants, we hurt people.
Yes.
We hurt people. And it very clearly, the end of that, a person who sows discord, this stuff affects other people, a person who kills the innocent, a person
yes.
who lies. Our choices affect other people. It's not just about us.
No.
And that's a heavy weight that when I think about that, and I think about things that I have seen and done and said and spoken and devised and whatever that I know have hurt people, even if I didn't set out to hurt someone else. If it's, here's the truth, when we set out to fill ourselves with what we want without considering God's wisdom, we fill other people with hurt.
Yeah. And I think, it's interesting when we're doing, so here's what's coming up for me. When we're doing things God's way, when we're walking in the center of his will, we think that the smallest step couldn't possibly have the big impact that we seek, right? We underestimate how he can supernaturally and exponentially multiply our small step of obedience.
Yeah.
Yet when we're walking out and doing things our way, which the world tells us to put ourselves first and to do it the way we want to do it and how it makes us happy, we underestimate the impact of small steps, but differently. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? Like, we think, well, that word or that deed or
isn't that big of a
flattery
deal?
or whatever, really, that couldn't possibly impact somebody so greatly.
Right.
It's
just a little white lie.
It's just right.
It's just a white lie. No, like even that's why we do what we do. And that's why you do what you do to help people in the business world to do things God's way. And that's what I do in the thought world to help people to think God's way. Because here's this is a really fascinating truth. I know somebody who is, she's very much not confident in who she is. Okay. So in other words, she's believing lies because she doesn't believe the truth of who she was created to be. Right. So that's her way, not God's way.
Right.
Right. But in being lacking confidence, being insecure, you sometimes hide away from other people. You sometimes don't, your actions that you've made about you, that you think are only about you, impact the people around you. Because here's just an example. Let's say you say you're going to go out to dinner with a friend, but you don't have confidence and you get dressed and you feel insecure and you feel like you don't matter. You feel like you're going to stand out. And so what do? You cancel on your friend. You make it about you, but now your friend who wanted to spend time with you doesn't get to spend time with you. And so that's just a very simple, practical example. But how many times do our feelings about us negatively impact somebody else?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. And what if in that moment, like that friend needs you?
Yeah.
Right. And so we may not know that, right? Because maybe they didn't make that clear to us. So we're thinking, yeah, I'm just going to skip it. But that small,
you miss out on opportunities to serve.
Right. And I just want to be clear. I'm not saying to people like, if you need to take self-care time, take self-care time. I'm not telling you to be like, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about,
no. But you just don't know how those small things impact the other person.
It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah. And that just
Yes.
goes back to love your neighbor as yourself. Love God,
Right.
love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
Right. And so we can't love other people if we don't love ourselves, and we can't love ourselves if we don't know who God created us to be.
I mean, that's it.
That's it. We got back there to the whole point of
We got there.
We got there. The whole point of why we believe what we believe and why we talk about what we talk about. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I got. You got anything else today, Erin?
No, that's what I got. I just want to thank everybody for their patience with the video today and us getting going. But you know what? Here's the thing. We're human and it's not going to be perfect. And we're not here to tell you, like, talk perfectly about Proverbs and the Lord's wisdom. We're just here to mind his wisdom and to bring our insights to it, to give you food for thought.
Yeah.
And to encourage you to read through it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So we'll pick up back here next Friday on chapter 6, verses 20 through 26.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. All right. We'll see you all next week.